Hey guys, happy Sunday. Welcome back to another video. We're going to be doing the Sunday special, as we call them here on the channel. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is going through some of my top ideas and setups for the week, talking technical analysis, as well as a little bit of fundamental and what's going on in the world right now. As you guys probably know, we have US elections coming in this week, which is a big market mover. So we're going to be on the lookout for that, but I'm going to talk about some setups or some ideas that might come out of the election that could be decent. So stay tuned for that. By the way, if I take any trades, which I probably will be taking trades within this week, if I find some sort of momentum pickup or some sort of opportunity that looks good, especially off of the back of an election, I will be taking some sort of trades. Now, any of those trades that I do take will be shared inside of the A1 trading community along with our other analysts. We've got a team of 5 traders sharing their information inside of the group, as well as access to a chat room, educational content, as well as we've got some live webinars that are being done. If any of that sounds interesting to you, check the link down below in the description. There will be information on that. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Again, comment down below also what you think about some of these markets. Of course, my analysis may be different from yours, so I want to hear from some of you guys what you think about some of these points that we're going to make. So euro dollar, let me know down below, bullish or bearish on euro dollar this week. I think should be really interesting because there's a lot of speculation about the US dollar going into this election, right? People are saying, one way or the other, it could drive the US dollar very, very strong. Now, someone picked on me from my last video. They said, Nick, you basically said that when the election comes out, it could go up or down. And the truth is, yes, I do not know how the market exactly will react to whatever happens in the election. More importantly, though, I don't need to predict that perfectly to find profitable trading setups regardless. So let me talk about some ideas that could be interesting. So if we do get some initial push to the downside here, there might be ways to look for a push down lower, right? On the lower time frames, looking for opportunities to get short going down to this major support zone. Now, I'm going to probably be out of the way of this zone. And the main reason for that is because this level being a very, very strong level of resistance previously, and we've got that 200-day moving average. These are some big technical factors that I think are probably going to be bullish for euro dollar if we get down to those points. We'll see if we can do that though. The big level here, we've got to break underneath this key kind of shelf here, which is going to be right around that 1.16 zone here on euro dollar. If price were to break through that, again, I think very, very good chance we could see a move down to this level here of support. So that after that, it's up for debate because we've got, again, we'll see what the election comes out to be. We'll see how people respond to it. But generally speaking, from a purely technical perspective, I love the idea of getting long on a pullback to this level here on euro dollar. That gives you a couple different cool factors. You've got, this overall trend to the upside, consolidation, pullback, and then if the trend continues, that would be probably one of the best entry points in my view there on euro dollar. Now, let's say that does not happen though. Let's say that we actually hold this zone really well, right? And we see this area of support just kind of hold going into this week and then shoot off of it after the election. Now, this could lead to something like this, and this is another setup that I like. Now, you guys may know already that overall I am bearish on the US dollar currently. And that makes me bullish on the euro in comparison. Now, what that means is that I'd be looking more so for bullish setups than bearish. I wouldn't be completely opposed to flipping my bias on the USD if we start to see some changes. But really, the two setups that I like here are looking for a breakout and then looking for, I'm trying to find this, I always forget where this path is, or looking for a pullback. So one or the other there, I think both have opportunities to look for long continuations on this Euro USD trend overall. Now, again, we are in a strong uptrend for the most part. We've got, price above that 200-day moving average. Now, what would make me look for bearish signals would be if we were to take this trade and it was not able to work out, I would probably be looking for, bearish continuation. Okay. This is where I would probably flip my script and say, okay, hey, I was wrong about this, which I very well could be. So if price comes down hard and breaks through this support, that to me is like the big line in the sand for bulls. So if this were to break and hold lower, I'd be more interested in looking for sell side, which could happen off of the election. Now, what that would have to do is it would have to be a very, very strong US dollar, because we would be looking at Euro USD, we'd have to see a very weak euro compared to a very, very strong dollar to get price to come down like that. But it could happen. We'll see what happens with the actual election. Again, it's up in the air exactly how the market responds to it. What's more important to me is how do we actually set up for success no matter what happens. That's really, as traders, we want to be looking for opportunities no matter what the market chooses to do. For me, I'm not a super predictive trader, so I'm not saying, I predict the market will hit 1.24 by this point. That's not my approach. My approach would be more so if we start to see signs of bullishness, I want to get in on that. If we see signs of weakness, let me look for sell opportunities and see how well it runs. I don't know how well it will run. I just have, basic trend following concepts that I employ in my strategy. Let's move on to another pair because I know we've got a couple different ones to cover. Pound dollar is another one that we've been watching pretty closely. We've been watching this trend line here. You can see we actually came back and retested it this past week. And, again, this one's very similar to euro dollar. I think there is a bearish setup here, though, if we are to see some downside. So if we were to break that 200-day, looking for some sort of weakness there looks pretty interesting to me. If I could figure this thing out. Yeah, there we go. It's not pretty at the end there, but just ignore that. We'll just cover it up. But basically the idea being if we were to see some break of this trend line and that 200-day, that could be interesting as well, but we're not quite there and really going to have to wait to see what the election holds for that to play out. But one of my favorite setups there would be a break of that 200-day moving average, and that's where I'd probably get involved on the short side, right? If we were to see something like that, maybe the retest of the 200 period stops there, something like stops at the previous low could be a really big play if we were to see a lot of momentum. But there's also some other key levels of support along the way, such as this pretty pivotal moment right here, this general zone right here. And to be more specific, that's right around the 1.21, 1.22 area. So that could be another trade as well. So these are just ideas. Again, it's really going to depend for me on what the momentum does going into the election. If price decides to get really bullish or really bearish, that's where I'm going to be more pinpointing my entries and exits once they start moving. So let's also take a look at gold. We've got some interesting stuff going on with gold. We're in this downward channel right now, and we haven't been able to break through that. Now, I think that this one is similar to euro dollar in the sense that I think there's really two bullish plays. One being this setup, right? Breaking of that channel, looking to go long on a retest. I like that one. And I like the extension down to the 200 period if it does so to get long here. Now, that's how I would personally play it, because then what this allows me to do, you might just say, well, Nick, why don't you just, if you're going to buy it here or buy it here, why don't you just buy it now? And the reason is because when I enter into a situation where I do something like this and then I enter right here, this gives me a very precise area of entry and exit for me. So what this means is, okay, I can go long here, let's say. I can put a relatively tight stop there, and we can go for something like the extension, maybe back to a high point. This gives me a more pinpoint entry point so that I can limit my downside. That's really the big reason for that. So again, if price were to come down to this point, let's say we find our way down to that 200-day moving average, this might be decent to look for, again, a long setup. Maybe we go for, maybe the same point, and we could put a little bit bigger of a stop just because that would be more of a swing trade. But you guys can see, general ideas are, it gives me a better risk reward. It gives me a little bit more of an idea of how I should set up my trade. So that is why, for those people who are wondering that. Let's move on to something else. So gold, I've touched on the last couple of weeks, pretty much the same concept there. I've taken a couple losses on trying to buy the breakout here. We had a failure. I actually tried to get long, I tried to get long within this candle on the retest here, so you can't really see it super well, but I had a bad trade, or not a great trade, that came right around here. So we were in the resistance, price broke and closed above, or it was looking bullish throughout the day. It started to pull back. It came back to that level. I went long, and it dropped back into the range. So unfortunately, that happens sometimes, but it is what it is, and we move on. So I'll be looking for a more powerful breakout to the upside if it's there, and if not, I'll be looking for a longer-term swing trade based on the pullback. So either ways, watching for long setups right now on gold. We'll see if we get them. Let's see what else we get on some other pairs. I do want to take a quick look at the S&P 500. Now, this is not one that I always include in my weekly analysis, but I think it's a pretty big one. So notice that we've actually seen some come down here in the weeks coming up into the election, which I find very, very interesting. Now, this could be in anticipation for the next president and how the market views it, but I'm not exactly sure. So the more important thing is that, okay, we also have some cases of, the pandemic spiking, which is another catalyst there. So we're seeing some pullback. That's what really matters here before the election. We did not break previous highs there on the last one, so that's kind of a big telltale as well. That is a lower high there technically, and going into the election, that is a little bit concerning. So for me, really the big levels here are breaking those highs and breaking this kind of pivotal low. So if price were to break either direction here, that's basically the trade setup. So the trade setup for me is, let's say, actually, you know what? Let's use we have the tool, why not use it? Let's say we break lower and we get something pretty strong under there. That to me is a nice bearish setup, okay? And similar, if we start to see signs of, a break to the top side, that's bullish as well. Okay, so right now we're just in a range, and to me this is not super interesting until further notice. So to me it's just like I want to see some sort of momentum pickup for me to get involved. We are much closer to the low side, but again, it's going to come down to how the reaction to the election goes, because we could very quickly, if the market sees the election as a very bullish thing, regardless of candidate, but if they see it as a bullish thing, it could lead to a very quick move to the upside as well. So we want to be aware of that and be open to that idea, so that, for me, that means looking for setups that make sense within that momentum. I want to join the momentum, because once it starts getting going, it could go for a month or two. So it's kind of like when we saw, check this out, we'll scroll back a little bit. When we saw the initial stages of the pandemic, we saw a pretty big correction to the downside that just persisted, okay? When you get a strong catalyst like this, it can lead to a month, 2 months of selling. So I want to be ready for that on the election news, because it could also lead to a lot of push. So keep that in mind when looking at the election this week. I would be, very, very cautious of trying to trade reversals within this next week, because, for me, my reversal concepts, I've put them on hold for this week, because I think that that sort of catalyst can push markets one direction for a long time. So just something to think about, guys. That's all I've got for today. I hope you got something out of it. Make sure, if you enjoyed this video, to leave a like down below, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want more trading tips and concepts for free. I do it all here on the channel, so check it out and watch some of the other videos if you are looking for more tips. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a great week. Trade safe and have fun.